Student from Region A, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chief Executive. I'm Cindy from Form 5. Mr. Zhang, I welcome the drug testing scheme which will be implemented very soon. I remember a survey conducted by the Youth Outreach HIP Tengsat, saying that among every 10 teenagers, 3 of them have been tried popping pills, or some of them are still taking drugs. But the most miserable is that 10% of the interviewees said they often take drugs at school. This is extremely alarming because it may mean I will pop into a possible drug addict in any school campus. Okay, it's just kidding. This is MSC College. No way for drugs. I know no students belonging to that category. But still, it is shattering. The sacred shelter of youths becomes a hotbed of drug takers. So when I first learned the implementation of the trial scheme on school drug testing in Taibo district, it's just like I can see the light of the day. However, there's something I'm not convinced. Why does the government adopt only the mildest measure when facing the most serious problem in this age? Why not make it a compulsory one? I strongly support a compulsory testing scheme personally. There's a Chinese saying, heavy penalties in times of trouble. 治亂世用重典. We are now facing not only crime, but also the decline of morality, let alone that drug test is not a heavy penalty. No doubt, human rights should carry out due weight, and it is vital. But brandishing human rights as an excuse to hinder the scheme could not be accepted. I understand many teenagers got dragged into their first taste of drugs due to peer pressures in social occasions. Therefore, I think a compulsory scheme is exactly the counter method to break that peer pressure, and drug abuse in school will greatly diminish. Mr. Zhang, don't be half oil, half water, as the Chinese saying goes. May God bless the Hong Kong's teenagers. Thank you.
Regarding the time, we will invite 2 more students to express their views. Student from Region B, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Zhang. I'm Charlotte from Form 2. Today, I would like to share my opinion with you about waste management policies in Hong Kong to refuse the refuse. I think monetary incentive is a key to successful environmental action. It was really great that the Hong Kong government finally introduced an environmental levy on plastic shopping bags at selected retail outlets some time ago. When I go shopping in supermarkets or other selected outlets, I can observe that only very few people use plastic bags. Some will even refuse to ask for one. It is a great success for the Hong Kong government and the Hong Kong people. But still, there is room for further improvement. Hong Kong government should assume a more proactive and leading role in waste management by offering direct subsidy and tax relief to the recycling industries in Hong Kong so that they can keep themselves competitive in the market. As for the source separation of waste program, its implementation in residential, commercial, and industrial buildings is, I'm afraid, still far from being successful. Most people understand the rationale and the benefits of the program, but they refuse to translate into action because they think it's quite a troublesome process. So why don't we encourage the Hong Kong people to play an active role in the plan through economic incentive, such as domestic waste disposal charge? A $50 surcharge may be an effective levy. You can seek public opinion and consensus on this point. As you said, you want to get your job done, then do it with a financial incentive. This is the end of my sharing. Thank you.
Lastly, student from Region C, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Zhang. I am Jovi from Form 6. We have learned that there wouldn't be any relief measures introduced in your forthcoming policy address. But do you know about 44% of Hong Kong people still hope that there will be some subsidies to help ease their burden? After experiencing the financial tsunami, a lot of Hong Kong people, particularly middle class and the disadvantaged groups, are in a dreadful ordeal. Hardly could they make ends meet. According to a report, the unemployment rate between July and September increased to an alarming level of about 5.4%. 1 out of 4 youngsters is unemployed. Do you think that the government should continue to bail the unemployed out of the plight? In my opinion, the relief measures, however short-term they may be, must continue to alleviate people's hardship and help people overcome the challenges posed by the financial crisis. Beyond that, more on-job training should be made available for both youngsters and middle-aged group who are more prone to unemployment. Besides on-job training, the government should take further actions to guarantee job opportunity for the locals. For example, the government can restrict the number of foreign laborers entering our market. Once again, we know that we can not only rely on the government allowance, but without the relief measures, how much harder the life of the low-income group will be. Thank you.
Young, please.
Again, very, very good questions, and I would be happy to deal with some of them. And I'm sure the question of drug testing as part of our campaign to deal with drug abuse in secondary schools, among secondary school students will feature in my policy address. Cindy said we should introduce compulsory testing, drug testing. This is not quite feasible in a public school sector, particularly with subsidized schools. If you test someone with drug, and what do you do with it? What will you do with him? It is important to realize that you cannot evict the students, you cannot punish the students, and it is quite different from private schools. In a public school systems, you have to look after, you have to think of how the consequences of taking drastic measures against any student. Our whole effort is to help the students, and also, of course, at the end of the day, to eradicate drug abuse in secondary schools. But the measures we take must be legally safe, must be socially acceptable, and must protect the rights of all the classes of people. So it is quite different from how a private school may wish to conduct its views. If they say, I will not tolerate any drug addict in my schools. And for that reason, if through drug testing, I found some drug addicts in my school, I just evict this person or expel the students. In the public school sector, we cannot do that. So it is something we have to deal with. Then the question is, how are we going to deal with this question? We have to think we have a bit more patience. The way we do it in Taipo will give us a good experience, how we're able to continue it, or whether we should change the system, or we should do something different. But it is an experiment we're determined to undertake. And I think it will give us a lot of information at the end of it. Don't underestimate the size of the problem. From our survey, we believe drug abuse exists in practically all secondary schools in Hong Kong. So if you declare a school, we are totally drug-free, you have to be very careful. We have to be very careful in saying this because I believe it is much more serious than we believe. But it's something which I'm determined to get to grip with.